All right, so today we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
The Jagannatha Temple in Puri, India.
All right.
And we're going to be looking at it through the text, the Jagannatha Chamratmyamu from the Skanda Purana.
Okay.
And I think this is going to be really interesting because this is a text which really focuses on the origins of the temple
Right.
and sort of the deeper meaning behind a lot of the rituals and those sorts of things.
Yeah, and just to give a little background, the Skanda Purana itself is one of the 18 major Puranas in Hinduism.
Yeah.
And for those who might not be as familiar with the Puranas, there are these epic collections of stories and teachings.
Right.
And they talk about gods and goddesses, the creation of the universe,
Right.
all sorts of things.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of dive deep into this particular text,
Right.
which focuses
Yeah.
specifically on the sacred site of Puri, known as Purushottamakshetra.
Yes, exactly.
One of the things that I find particularly interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that this text really emphasizes that Lord Jagannath is residing in a wooden form.
Yes.
Now, we know that he's considered an incarnation of Vishnu, and Vishnu, of course, is known for his avatars.
Right.
But even then, wood seems like an unusual choice for, an avatar of a god.
Yeah, it's certainly not the most common material you would think of.
Right.
But the text actually gives some really interesting insight into the significance of wood in this context.
Okay.
There's a line that really struck me when I was reading it. It says that Brahman, in the form of wood,
Okay.
is the source of immutable joy.
Hmm.
So there's this idea that the wood itself is symbolic of Brahman, which is the ultimate reality in Hinduism.
So it's not just a random material choice.
Not at all.
There's a deeper spiritual
Yeah.
truth that's being pointed to here.
Exactly. And I think it connects to the idea that true joy comes from connecting with the divine, with Brahman,
Right.
rather than from these sort of fleeting pleasures of the material world. So Jagannatha's wooden form kind of invites us to contemplate this connection between the physical and the metaphysical.
Now, the temple wasn't just sort of poof there,
Right.
magically appeared.
It had to be built.
Yeah, the text tells this really amazing story about its construction.
Yes, it does.
And it centers around this this King Indradyumna.
King Indradyumna, that's
Yeah.
right. He's the central figure.
Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, so he's this incredibly devoted ruler.
Okay.
And the story goes that he had this vivid dream where Lord Vishnu himself
Wow.
appeared to him and instructed him to build this grand temple.
Okay.
Now, in ancient India, dreams were not taken lightly,
Right.
especially by kings.
Right.
They were often seen as messages from the divine.
So this dream wasn't just a, oh, I had a weird dream last night.
Right.
This was a divine communication.
This was a directive.
Yeah.
This was a mission.
So this King Indradyumna, he basically, sets out on this epic quest to build this temple.
Exactly. And the text goes into detail about all the challenges he faced along the way.
Oh, really?
The guidings he sought from sages and even a forest dweller named Visvavasu.
A forest dweller?
Yes, this forest dweller is really interesting. He actually plays a key role.
Okay.
Because it turns out he possessed this secret knowledge about the land where the temple was meant to be built.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, it's almost like
It is.
it's like a spiritual treasure hunt.
It is a spiritual treasure hunt.
Where the king's devotion is tested at every step of the way.
Absolutely. His resolve, his faith, his wisdom,
Yeah.
everything is put to the test.
Speaking of tests and challenges and fascinating tales, there's this story in the text about a crow
Oh, yes.
that attains liberation just by seeing Lord Jagannatha.
Right. This is one of my favorite stories.
It's just incredible. And I think it speaks volumes about how much emphasis the text places on the
Yes.
power of this sacred site.
Absolutely. That crow story is a perfect example of the transformative power that's attributed to this place, Purushottamakshetra.
Right.
It's described as a place where ignorance is destroyed.
Wow.
Simply by being there, simply by being in the presence of the divine.
That's amazing.
It's said that even Brahma, the creator god, was curious
Wow.
about how this simple crow achieved liberation.
That makes you wonder, what is it about this place that holds such immense power?
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's one of the central mysteries that I think the text invites us to ponder. It suggests that the site itself is imbued with a unique energy, a connection to the divine, that facilitates spiritual transformation even without any elaborate rituals.
And it's not just about individual transformation either. It's also about challenging societal norms.
Yes.
One thing that really struck me is that The text specifically mentions that women are allowed to participate in temple rituals.
That's a really important point.
Yeah, and that was something very unusual.
Very unusual for that time period.
Yeah, for that time period.
Exactly, and it reflects this more inclusive form of worship that we see at the Jagannath Temple. While women were traditionally excluded from Vedic rituals, here they're actively invited to partake in this spiritual journey alongside men.
It's like a conscious break from those traditional norms.
It is. It's a really powerful statement, I think.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see a text from that era advocating for such inclusivity.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't talk about the Jagannath Temple without mentioning the Rath Yatra.
Oh, of course, the Grand Chariot Festival.
The Chariot Festival, yeah.
Yes.
And the text just goes all out with these vivid descriptions.
Oh, absolutely.
The elaborate chariots, the throngs of devotees pulling them.
It's all there, the energy, the communal participation.
It really paints a picture.
It does.
But it's not just a spectacle, is it?
No, it's much more than just a parade.
What deeper meaning does it hold?
Well, the text explains that the chariots themselves represent the perpetual movement of the cosmos. And the devotees, by pulling those chariots, are symbolizing their active role in this cosmic journey. It's like they're participating in this grand dance of the universe.
So it's a microcosm of the universe.
Precisely.
Itself constantly in motion, constantly evolving.
Exactly.
And the devotees aren't just observers.
Yeah.
They're active participants.
They're co-creators in a way. So that's just one layer of the Rath Yatra's symbolism.
Okay.
And as we continue our exploration, we'll delve even deeper into its cosmic significance.
Well, that's great because I'm already fascinated.
Yeah, it's a really rich tradition.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I'm curious what's standing out to you so far?
Oh, wow.
What's piqued your curiosity about this ancient temple and its story?
Well, I mean, I think for me...
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back and ready to go even deeper, into this world of the Jagannath Temple.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where this takes us.
Yeah, me too. It's just amazing how this text, the Jagannath Mahatmyam, it doesn't just tell us about the temple itself. It's almost like it reveals a whole worldview.
Absolutely. And one of the key elements of that worldview that I noticed is this concept of cyclical time.
Okay.
And the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah, we've kind of touched on that throughout, with the Rath Yatra. And the importance of rituals and those sorts of things.
Exactly.
But maybe we could unpack that a little bit further.
Sure. So remember how we were talking about the chariots representing the perpetual movement of the cosmos?
Yeah.
Well, each chariot is actually linked to a specific deity and a cosmic element.
Okay.
For instance, Jagannatha's chariot, which is called Nandagosha, symbolizes the earth element.
Okay.
Then you have Balarama's chariot Taladwaja, which represents the wind element. And then Subhadra's chariot, Darpadalana, is associated with the water element.
So it's not just movement in general. It's the movement of these specific cosmic forces.
It's the dance of the elements.
And the devotees, by pulling these chariots, are participating in this flow.
In this harmonious flow of these cosmic energies.
That's beautiful.
It's really quite profound when you think about it.
And it's not just the Rath Yatra.
Right. Not at all.
The text describes so many rituals and festivals that seem to be timed to coincide with specific lunar cycles and seasonal changes and things like that.
Like the Chandan Yatra, for example.
Like the Chandan Yatra?
Yeah.
What's that one?
So that's a 21-day festival where the deities are taken on this boat ride.
Wow.
And it symbolizes their journey to this mythical sandalwood forest.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
And this festival occurs during the summer months.
Okay.
So there's this idea of cooling the deities, bringing relief from the heat.
So these festivals aren't just like random celebrations.
They're not just parties.
Yeah, they're really connected.
They're deeply connected.
The natural rhythms of the universe.
The cycles to the seasons.
And it's almost like an attempt to align human life with those cosmic cycles.
To harmonize, to find that balance.
Yeah, it's recognizing that we are part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. We're woven into the fabric of time and space.
Yeah.
Subject to the ebb and flow of creation and destruction.
Speaking of destruction.
The
text also, it doesn't shy away from that, from the concept of karma, the consequences of our actions.
It's not all sunshine and roses, as they say.
Right. It's not all, blissful.
Remember that warning about wiping away the paint from the idols?
Yes.
That always stands out to me.
It's like a little detail, but it really packs a punch.
It does.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? Well, I think it highlights this belief that even seemingly small actions can have ripple effects, that we're all interconnected and our actions impact the world around us.
So it's a call for mindfulness reverence.
Especially within a sacred context.
But it's not just about avoiding negative actions, is it?
No, definitely not.
The text also emphasizes cultivating positive karma.
Absolutely.
Through acts of devotion, charity, selfless service.
It's about actively contributing to the good.
Yeah.
Not just abstaining from the bad.
And it's not just about, accumulating good karma for ourselves.
That's right.
It's about actually...
It's about the well-being.
Contributing to the well-being of the community.
Of the community of the world.
Yeah, it's a reminder that our actions really do have the power...
They do.
To create change.
To create positive change.
Both within ourselves and in the world around us.
We're not isolated individuals. We're part of this larger web of interconnectedness.
That's such a powerful idea, and I think it really runs through this whole text.
It's a central theme for sure.
Yeah.
It's not just about our individual relationship with the divine.
Right.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness with all beings. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect. I think the offerings that are made to Lord Jagannatha.
Yeah, the text mentions all sorts of offerings.
Right.
But food seems to hold a special significance.
It does. Food is a very common offering in many traditions.
Yeah.
It's a way to express gratitude, devotion, to share our sustenance with the divine.
Yeah.
But what's particularly interesting at the Jagannatha temple is this concept of prasad.
Prasad.
Yes, the blessed food that's offered to the deity and then distributed to the devotees.
Yeah, I've always loved that about Hindu temples.
It's a beautiful act of communion and sharing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It symbolizes this divine grace flowing back to the devotees.
And it's a reminder that the spiritual and the material aren't separate.
Exactly.
They're intertwined.
They're two sides of the same coin.
So by partaking in this prasad, the devotees are not just nourishing their bodies.
Right.
They're receiving blessings.
Yes.
They're connecting with the divine.
It's a beautiful reminder that even the simplest act of eating can be a spiritual experience.
Well, that's a perfect note to end on for this part of our deep dive.
It is time for a little prasad, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, so we're back, and